Welcome. I'm Danielle Sally.
And I'm Eva Fusa.
And you're listening to Ghost Boss, stories about the freelance afterlife. Hey, Eva.
Hi.
How are you?
What a morning, Danielle.
Listen, this has been rough. So we've been
in here an hour.
An hour. It has
more than an hour.
It's been more than an hour. We got here. First off, I was running late.
Well, that's fine because I'm never here at exactly 8:30 because of drop off.
I was running late, and then apparently everyone in Columbia decided they're going to work in office today.
Mm-hmm.
So the interstates were just a standstill. So I got here later than normal, which always bothers me. And then we get here, we get the setup, and we realize we don't have our USB-C adapters.
Right.
We don't have any of our cables.
Right.
I did bring my tripod.
You brought your tripod.
Which is super. I put that on my list. It was the only thing apparently I put on my list. I forgot everything else.
We're doing great.
I live 35 minutes away. And
I live 3 to 5 minutes away.
And you live 3 to 5. So Eva ran home, got all the things.
Yes.
Came back. And then we realized her laptop wasn't.
You got to give them the full story that we've been trying. This is the third week in a row. We've been trying to get cameras recording, not using the MacBook camera, which is what we ended up having to use.
Yeah.
We spent 35 minutes trying to figure out why my camera wouldn't connect. And it's because my iOS is.
You're still in Monterey on your laptop.
I don't know why every other device I own, Apple gets very insistent when I'm out.
Your laptop. So then we finally figured out that's why your camera's not connecting.
So I almost did the update. Danielle goes, no.
Listen, I'm not sitting here another 40 minutes.
We're going to be here all morning.
So we're here. So the funny thing, we probably jinxed ourselves because today we wanted to talk about managing stress.
I've already had a little bit of a stressful week, but this morning it's hitting different.
Taking the cake.
It's hitting different.
I mean, listen, I got here, I got out of my car. Eva just looks at me and I know she's having a day.
Oh, I mean, I rolled up listening to Slipknot, if that's supposed to paint a picture for anybody.
Yes, exactly. So we're here.
Hi.
Hi. We're stressed.
Doing great.
So we wanted to talk about managing stress and what we do. Clearly nothing right.
Nothing right. I already had like a little bit of a stressful week to talk about, but now I'm just like, woof.
Well, so actually let's talk about this because it is, we're past halfway through January now. And so I've saw so many memes that first week about it being people circling back. Everyone's circling back to the point I started calling it Circle Back Week. Everyone needed everything because it was all the stuff that they didn't want to deal with during the holidays. So they're going to deal with it now. So the first full week of January, it was just go, 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 go. And this week's the same. And I'm just convinced that this whole month people are going to just keep coming back with stuff, which is a great problem. But it's still kind of, we're jumping right back into things and trying to manage workloads and taking on new workloads. I had multiple new clients reach out to me. Woohoo, grateful for it. But just kind of trying to like jump into the new year.
December, Eva decided to make several big projects due all on January 19th.
Yeah.
Today's the 18th for context.
Yeah, of course.
Doing great.
We got this. So.
No, it's fine. So what I was going to talk about with my week was I have a bunch of stuff due tomorrow.
Yes.
I have not worked out in almost a week.
Yeah.
I haven't been reading or listening. I have not hit my sleep goal in at least 4 days, but it's because I finished all my projects early.
Yes.
So it's fine. I'm okay.
Yeah.
When 1 week's a little off the rails and I got all my big stuff out the door and I feel good about it. So it's fine. So I was going to talk about that, but now
but once it gets in the week 2 of off, then you really start to feel it. Because we both talked about this. Self-care is the first thing to go out the window.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
And
I can run off 4 hours of sleep. It's fine. It's perfectly fine.
Because I can usually tell in my steps. Because
that's a good. I'm going to see how many steps I've taken last week.
So what I was going to say, I've been doing step competitions with my nutrition coach, and she sets them up on this app called Step Bet, and there's money on the line, right? So I'm getting my steps in.
The irony, my phone hasn't even synced with my watch in 3 days. Sorry to interrupt, but I'm laughing.
That probably says something, right?
Go ahead.
But I've been consistently doing better on my steps because of it. But last week they were in a warm-up week on the app, which a warm-up week means you're still in the competition even if you miss a couple days.
Okay.
Last week, cool. Like every day was maybe like 2,000 to 3,000. Mind you, I'm supposed to hit, it's almost 7,500 that I'm supposed to be hitting.
Yeah.
And I had been doing it, but last week was a warm up week and also a super busy week. And I kind of took advantage of that outside of one day where we went to Edisto State.
I saw you post something on the road.
That day I got 13,000 steps.
Well,
so made up for it, right? But
look at you.
I looked at it this week, and this week's a real week in the competition. and like it got to be 10 o'clock at night, and I think I was at 3,000 steps. I'm like, well, I guess I'm just going to run for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But it is, I've just been, I'm not getting up from my desk. I'm not moving around.
Mm-hmm.
I have pushed off the workouts.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the first things to get neglected, but I should be doing the opposite. I need to make sure no matter what, no matter how busy I am, I'm still doing my workouts. I'm still doing all the things because that's how I'm going to balance out the level of stress.
So I gave myself a pass because I've had some focus struggles in the last couple months.
Sure.
Where like I've really just been like, ugh.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like it's just, it's easy for me to get up and work out because I don't want to be sitting at my computer. It's easy for me to get up and go refill my water cup because I don't want to be sitting at my computer. Yes. So for the last 3 days, I've hit this like creativity, like,
oh, you got to jump on that.
I had to jump on it. No, so I was like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Same.
So I gave myself a pass just temporarily.
It's funny how that happens too. Cause I think that first full week of January, I was really struggling to get back into like my creative zone.
Yeah.
By week 2, I was feeling it. I was coming up with ideas.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I'm in the zone. And when I'm in the zone,
you got to you got to run.
Do it. Like, I think Tuesday this week, I worked till 10 or 11 just because I was in the zone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I had a deadline coming up. I really wanted to finish it. I was kind of falling behind on. I wanted to make sure I got it done. So that was the other reason. But honestly, it was really because I was in the zone.
I tell people all the time, like creativity is like kind of like a really flaky friend. Right?
Yes.
Like you never know when you text creativity if it's going to text back.
Yes. So creativity's me. No.
You usually answer me.
I try.
You do. But you never know. You never know if creativity. You also don't know, like, is it just going to text you or is it coming out later?
Oh,
like,
right.
And so when it's on it, like, I find that's one of the biggest stressors of my job is that sometimes I have to be creative when it's just not happening.
Well, it's interesting too, because not all careers are like that, right? But we have a career where we have to come up with new ideas and create new art and new design every day almost, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a lot to do. And it's a lot to really push yourself to do, but it's what we do and we get paid to do it.
And I love it.
I love it. But
it's just hard some days.
It's hard some days. So when you're not focused, and I've given myself more grace than I used to earlier on in my career. Because now I've hit the point that when I'm in some of these creative blocks, there's some times where I sit back and like, maybe today's an admin day. Maybe today I get work on my books. Maybe today I work on my project management software and like make sure all the projects are in the system because I know when I'm not going to create anything I like. Mm-hmm. But I also know that I've done this long enough that when I get in the zone, I'm going to work twice as fast because I'm constantly like, ooh, but what if I try this? And what if I try this and try this? So it's interesting because I feel like the longer you do this, the more you learn that about yourself as a designer. Yeah. Of sometimes you just can't force it. Yeah. But when when you're in the zone, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Yes. Yeah. And it's almost having that trust in yourself. Yeah. That you will pass this creative block.
Yes. So one of the things I worked on this week was like a full ad campaign.
Yes.
And so I was originally hired just to redesign the creative on the project, like just the visual creative. Yeah. And then we did a feedback session and it turns out that the people, using the creative out, like using the campaign out in the field. They're like, we don't use it because it actually doesn't resonate. It doesn't make any sense with our audience.
Right.
There was some stuff about like it was translated and it was poorly translated.
Gotcha.
And there's just a lot going on. They're like, the concept doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
And you're getting too hung up on like the kitschiness of the visuals.
Yeah.
When really we're just trying to like deliver a direct message.
Yes.
So that expanded my scope. So it went from like just redesign the concept to rethink how we approach this entire project.
Right. And when that happens, then you have to like go back and look at all your projects that are going on.
Right.
Because you've scoped out a certain amount of time to work on this alongside other client projects.
Right.
But now this one project has grown significantly.
Right.
That's going to play with your weekly workload.
Yeah. So when I was like, yeah, I can do it by January 19th, I was like, I just didn't really think through. Now, also, I was working on a political campaign last year.
Yeah.
And so that ended in November. So that actually like freed up a good amount of time for me. So like, I'm fine. But so anyways, I was working on concepting the last 2 weeks and I just didn't like anything that I did.
Yeah.
Right. I would do it. I would save it. I would come back to it. I didn't like it. Try it again. And I was like, supposed to be working on it last week. And I got up and was folding laundry instead. And I remember telling myself, it always works out.
Mm-hmm.
You always figure out something.
Yes.
And you always figure it out on time.
Yep.
So if right now you're just spinning your wheels, go do something else. And 3 separate times this week, I sat down just to do like a little 45-minute, hour-long stint, and I worked for like 5 hours.
Right.
I was up past midnight the other night and didn't even feel tired.
Yeah.
I was just like,
man, that's a thing too.
Yeah. You know you're in it when you're not tired.
Well, and that's when I work late and I'm in the zone, then I really struggled to get to sleep.
Yes.
Because now I'm just like thinking like I almost get to the point I'm like, should I just stay up?
Right.
Because I won't be able to get to sleep for at least 2 hours because now my brain's just like going and going and going. And I got to think about it. But then I know, especially me, we talked about it. I require a lot of sleep. And so I know that if I don't get to bed, I'm going to struggle the next day. That was one of the things when I was working in an advertising agency and I had a lot of late nights working on stuff. Especially if we had like a proposal. It's funny, the proposals always kept me up later than any client project. But when I was working on those late at night, I would hit a point that it's just like, you know what, I have to go to sleep.
Yeah.
I have to go to sleep or tomorrow I'm not making anything good.
See, I can pull it together next day.
But you operate on nothing.
Yeah. I mean, but I've always been like that when I was in journalism school, particularly the last like 18 months and also certainly when I was doing my capstone experience, but like also capstone experience is when like I worked at a newspaper all day.
Gotcha.
But also they tell you like during that, like don't take other classes. And I took like 3-hour art classes at night, trying to graduate on time. I would sleep in 2 to 3 hour jumps 2 to 3 times a day. So like I would go to bed. I would nap when I got home from like 5 to 7. I'd get up and do some stuff. And I feel
That's why I'm glad we're getting video right now. I'm fascinated by it.
I can't do that now. I can't do that now. I was a lot younger then, but I remember like 6 months, I would sleep for a couple hours when I got home. And then I would only get like maybe 3 hours of sleep a night, maybe 4. Cause I would be up late and I had to get up early to be at the paper.
Right.
And that was fine. No, I can't do that now.
No, wait. No, I think about college. All of my roommates, you are all going to have all-nighters. 2 of my roommates were in the architecture school, which SCAD at some point had to like say, you're not allowed to sleep in this building. Right. Because the architecture students were there all the time. Right. Whereas, graphic design, we could work right out of our apartments. And one of my roommates was also in graphic design with me. And her name's Tina Malaysia, super talented designer. And we would just we would invite our other graphic design friends over and we'd all just work on our computers and we would have all-nighters. Yeah. And we would just crank out the work. Yeah. And it's funny because there was I remember one project, we had 3 days in a row where we had all-nighter parties. And thinking back about that now, I don't know how I operated.
Well, we were a lot younger then.
A lot younger. We didn't require.
So I think for me, I know it's specifically about 2 things. Yeah. That makes my sleeping patterns different now than then.
Yes.
One, I can't nap anymore.
No,
I cannot nap. I can't. That's a combination of several things, but like I cannot nap like I used to back then. But two, like we both have children.
Yes.
And so like there is no time in my day where I can just like relax long enough to just like go take a break and nap.
Right.
Like it's just not happening. Like when I get up at 6:30, we're up until at least 9.
Yeah.
So so that's part of it. But even though I can't do that anymore, I could easily run all week on 4 hours of sleep.
I can't do it.
Like I wouldn't be optimal.
Sure.
It's not ideal.
That's fair.
I wouldn't do it. I could do 5 and I would probably be fine.
You know, it'd be interesting too. And you track your sleep, so you could do this, but track your sleep and see, okay, based on the hours of sleep I'm getting, how many times am I hitting those creative blocks? And diving into that and seeing if there's any.
See, I haven't slept a lot this week, and
that's a problem with doing this test. Is you would need to have a week where you sleep.
Yeah,
so we might never get to see the results.
Well, and it's a little bit of the chicken or the egg, right? Like, am I in the zone because I haven't been sleeping enough, or am I not sleeping enough because I'm in the zone? I think it's the second one.
That's fair.
That's funny. I woke up in the middle of the night the other night, like the dogs woke me up or something. I woke up and I rolled over to go back to sleep. And my brain goes, so that third concept that you're going to show the client. And I was like, stop it. And so it's where my meditation came very helpful, because I was able to like clear my mind, because otherwise I would have laid in bed at 3 o'clock in the morning rethinking this layout.
Yes. This is, interesting. When I sleep, I can't have a clock in my bedroom, because if I look at the time, then I see it. And then I'm like, oh, I only have 3 hours. Oh, I only have an hour left. So I can't look at clocks. And so eventually I had to operate like, don't look at my phone when I'm sleeping, because if I look at the time, it's going to. But now, instead of doing that, now I wake up, and if I'm conscious for too long, I start thinking about what's on my to-do list. Yeah. And then I can't sleep because then I'm thinking about my to-do. It's a jerk.
I know. We have too much going on.
Mean brain.
I suspect that I have not been sleeping a lot this week because I haven't been exercising. Well, there's a direct relation between that. The more I work out, the deeper I sleep.
Yep. Same. But I don't,
it feels different this week. I think it's because I got so much work done, and I'm really proud of the stuff that I do. Same. And so far I've gotten some great feedback from the client for the first thing. The other one, I didn't send it to him until 7 o'clock last night. So I'm sure they're still internally meeting. But like, I do not feel like one of like a hell week where I just knew I wasn't going to get a lot of rest. Yeah. It's fine.
Yeah. And that's different, right? So there's some weeks where you just have so much, like, it's more than 40 hours or how many hours. So you're just going to have to work extra. But then there's some weeks where it's a manageable amount of work. Yeah. But you just have other things going on. Yeah. So it's just balancing all that out. And they're two different types of weeks.
Yeah. So I've got 5 meetings tomorrow. Ooh. I'm booked from 8:30 to 2:45.
Yeah. So this is actually, and we've talked about this before. I have my little Tetris board of a calendar, but I've had a fair amount of meetings this week. And the struggle of meetings is taking you away from actual design work. Now, it's meetings to get everything you need to work on the design work, and that's needed. But it's still taking you away from physically working on a project. So then what I have to do, I always know if I'm having a really busy week, because my calendar will look like a Tetris board, because I always go in and block my calendar of what projects I need to make sure I work on. Because then it gets to a point, if I have too many meetings, I need to make sure I know, don't book too many meetings, or else I'm not going to get the work done. But then I have my Tetris board that you hate.
I just make a to-do list. So part of why I have so many meetings tomorrow is because I do find when I have...
And on a Friday.
Yeah.
Rude.
Well, it's fine. Well, I should clarify. They are all coffee and lunch meetings.
Oh, I like those for Fridays.
Yeah. I do find when I do those and then I try to come back and work, I have a very hard time focusing.
So much.
So I had 2 full days this week of just work.
Yes.
And so then I was like, all right, I'll stack my Friday. And then next week, I think my Tuesday is going to be heavy like that.
Yeah.
Which is fine, because Monday I have an all-day client meeting. I have figured out, like, it is helpful to make it a meeting day or not meeting day.
Yeah, I agree. And that's what, even some of the boards that I'm on, if I can put them all like one day, then I try and do that. Like Thursday is my AAF day because I have, let's see, we do what's called peer group calls with all of our governors. We break them into the group. So I always do that my second Thursday of the month. And then third Thursday of the month is always the official Council of Governors meeting with everyone. And then my fourth Thursday of the month, like I think we do it every other month now, is a actual virtual event that the Council of Governors puts on with AAF. Everything's on Thursday. I'm like, that's just 3 to 3:30 on Thursday is my official AAF day. And that's like, I just know that.
Yeah. I like midweek work days.
Yeah.
I like bookending on Fridays with meetings. I don't mind a lot of meetings on a Monday to kind of get the day started. I love a blank Tuesday and Thursday schedule.
Yeah.
Nothing makes me happier than opening it up and it says no events today.
It's funny. And I said this too when I was working for a company. I always felt like something about Tuesday and Thursday. Every client wants to book on those days. It is crazy. And to the point that we would always do our company-wide meetings on Mondays, but Mondays were always such a struggle for me for meetings because it's like everyone's coming back. We're trying to like regroup and whatnot, like give us a day to catch up. But Mondays were always, for some reason, the company meetings. It was back to back to back. And then every client loved a Tuesday, Thursday meeting, either at 10 or 2, always. And then Wednesdays would have nothing. So I kept trying to like, can we maybe schedule all the internal meetings on Wednesday because no clients booking anything.
See, it's funny because I find, so when I was in-house, nobody wanted to talk to me on Fridays.
Yeah, no.
So Fridays were my work days. Right. I would block them and it was great. So many clients want to talk to me on Fridays now. 4 p.m. Friday meetings. But so many clients love a Friday afternoon meeting. And in my mind, I'm like, aren't y'all trying to get out of the office?
I know.
It's bananas. Yeah. I accommodate.
Sure.
Well, not this Friday. I'm meeting.
Except for this Friday. I'm going every client you have
to 4 coffee shops tomorrow.
Oh my God.
And a lunch. Maybe at a coffee shop.
I love it. And also, I realize I don't have many local clients. I have maybe 2. Most of them are somewhere else. So at least pretty much all my meetings are virtual. And so then I have to remind myself that if it is a local client, I'm like, oh, actually I have to like go somewhere.
Yeah.
All right. So per usual, we've rambled.
Danielle's going to cut us. Actually, we talked about washing our hair for 5 minutes.
There's a lot of bloopers in this podcast you guys don't even know about.
If you want a special hair care mini episode, let us know.
But the key takeaway that I've been picking up in your conversation and my conversation, because this podcast is supposed to be about managing stress, and the key takeaway that I'm hearing is, especially in freelance, our day-to-day looks so different.
Yes.
And it might depend on our client and it might depend on our schedule.
Yep.
But or just like the universe not being in our favor.
The burnt toast theory.
Murphy's Law in general. But how we pivot.
Yep.
And make sure that we can get back on track.
Yes.
In order to manage that stress. Because if we can't pivot.
Correct.
Then we are just setting ourselves up for failure, right? Yes. We won't be able to get everything done. That's just going to make a client angry. It's going to get ourselves frustrated. And we need to make sure we're doing everything to get back on track. So, Eva, with that said, because this Murphy's Law took over our bodies this morning.
We'll call it that.
Or it's shocking. Mercury's not in retrograde right now.
I have not.
All the tech was broken.
I have not saged in a week. I'm just saying.
Well, that's why.
That literally.
You need to sage yourself before you come here.
I can.
So, Eva.
Yeah.
What is 1 or 2 things that you are going to do to get back on track today?
Yeah.
In order to manage the stress that we've already had this morning.
Right. Well, first thing
this week,
I think we both made a very good decision when we got in here. We were supposed to double record today. We were supposed to record 2 episodes.
Yes.
And we scaled back. We're like, let's just do 1 today.
Yep.
And that's okay.
Pivot.
Let's see. What am I going to do? Maybe not listen to Slipknot on the way home.
I think no.
I did tone it down and switch to Metallica when I went to get all the cords.
No, if you're listening to rage music, you're going to rage. Do you need to rage? You don't need to rage. I think you need something more mellow right now.
I don't really rage a lot. I just listen to real ragey music. All right. Anyway, so what am I going to do today to get back on track?
Yes.
Let's see. I am going to go on a walk today.
Yeah,
I've got time to do it
as well.
I don't. So I have this very bad habit of turning my self-care, my hobbies into tasks.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to promise that I'm going to take a walk today and I'm going to hydrate properly today.
That's huge.
Because if I added to that, I'm going to make sure I listen to my book. Well, then it's turned my book into a task.
No, and
you know what I'm saying?
Hydrate while you walk.
Well, or if you want to listen to a trashy podcast,
yes,
while you walk, that's okay.
Yep,
that's okay. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to walk today.
There you go.
I'm going to make sure I drink enough water.
Yes,
and then I'm whatever I want to listen to is whatever I want to listen to.
Perfect.
Yeah. What are you going to do?
So let's see. I'm looking at my Tetris board calendar. I have 2 projects that I need to get done today. So I'm going to balance this out. I also have our Council of Governors meeting today, which I
sound like
attend.
wizards.
Our wizards meeting that I have to attend. But the end of the day, I have a call with my nutrition coach. So what I like about these calls, they're check-ins that I do with Jenny every week. What I like about them is I'm the type of person that accountability, knowing that I'm just going to talk to her, she's going to ask me what exercise is on. She's going to look at my.
We are so different. I would reschedule that call.
I love it though, and that's why I like I
love how different we are. Like it's just so fascinating.
I know,
it really is.
We thought we were similar, and we're not.
We're not.
But I have my call with her, and I'm gonna. Every time I'm like, okay, I haven't, and I have to confess because I'm like, I haven't been exercising this week. Just got to get back on track. Nutrition, I didn't track this weekend or Monday because we were out of town, but as soon as I came back Tuesday, got back on track with that. So making sure that's good. So I like that today I have my call with her because it will force me to get back on track with everything. And tomorrow we're going in big. What I want to do though, and it won't be a today thing. It will be maybe a Sunday or Monday thing because I like this. I guess it goes with my rounded milestones. I like, Mondays are good days to start things.
That's in Atomic Habits.
See? So I am going to restart density training on Peloton, which is I believe it's 4 weeks on there. So I'm going to restart that because it just like no other program. It's amazing the definition that I get from that.
Cool.
It feels so good afterwards.
I love that.
And it's 3 days a week. It's totally doable. The nice thing with programs like that is I know it's 3 days, so I make sure I work them into my schedule. Whereas this week I had no plan and I don't do well with no plan because I just did nothing. And hence the mess of the morning because I had no plan.
We're doing great.
I got here.
We got here.
There we go.
We got here. We're here.
We're here.
Some days, I say this often, some days I'm just surviving, not thriving. And that's okay. Because I would say I am thriving overall in my life, but it doesn't mean that every day has to be a gold star day. Some days it's like, we made it.
No one's going to thrive every day. No. That's insane.
Well, my dogs thrive every day because their lives are easy. But
that's that.
So, anywho.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. See y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye. Remember to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Ghost Boss Podcast. And also, please like and review us on your favorite podcast app.